Yesterday was our 6-month anniversary. I'm sitting in the guest room and Muffin, want to say hi? No, she's having a moment. But this is where when we first moved in, like she was almost dying. And I thought, my God, is this what she's doing? Is she like, okay, mom's safe and sound with her new man. I'm just gonna like peace out. Thank God she got better. Now she's like this feisty woman who spars with the dogs, and now is finally even like the three of them are all in the bedroom with us at night. It's amazing. And I just think about life and moving in with later in life. And as you're about to watch this podcast, Deidre moved in, she was in her 40s when she came to me, her early 40s, I think, when she's like, all my friends are married, they have kids, like what's wrong with me? So many of us who are late bloomers say that, what's wrong with me? And nothing was wrong with her. There was wounds inside of her heart, like all of us, from past relationships, etc., that were making her think, I'll be happy when I get the guy. And so that's like the opposite. I say one of my books is called Finding the One is Bullshit, Becoming the One is Brilliant and Beautiful, for this very reason. Like we put finding the one first and then we'll feel better. But when we turn it around and first we become the one, then all of those senses and feelings and wholeness and richness that we think we're going to get when we're in a relationship, we have now, which makes us confident and attractive and a vortex, and we don't need that person, we choose them. And so as I'm thinking about moving in here with my amazing Scott, this has been the journey I've been able to navigate with Deidre as she's moved in with Peter. So you're going to learn a lot about never giving up on love. You're going to learn a lot about how to navigate all the steps of dating to moving in to now potential engagement, all of this. And I hope that it lifts you to keep your heart open and do the work and enjoy the journey of love and let go of competition to other people of when they got married or when they found the one. This is your soul journey and it is divine timing, and that is that. So enjoy. Welcome to Intimate Conversations, Soul Medicine. Intimacy is an inside job. Hello, delicious people. And by the time you're going to see this, it's like, well, here we are. Happy New Year. And actually, you are looking at one birthday girl and another birthday girl. We both have the same birthday. This is my dear, dear client, Deidre. And this is Intimate Conversations. And normally we have like a theme every single month, but we're doing replays, like the best of, for the beginning of the year. And so when I thought about having Deidre on the show, I thought, let's call it Never Give Up on Love. This woman has been in my sphere for several years now, and she's a communications partner, and she's a professional copywriter for businesses. She's an amazing web designer. And as you can tell, she's gorgeous as fuck. And we are both January 15th babies. So, and we are actually recording this shortly after our birthdays. So let's just begin right there. Like, how was your birthday, honey?
Oh, thank you. My birthday was wonderful. Like many parts of the country right now, it was snowy, so it was fun to wake up to some snow. We haven't had a snowy winter in the DC area in a couple of years, so that was super fun. And
Nice.
just relaxed. And Peter got me flowers, and we went out to dinner, and it was lovely.
Wow. I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
And how was your birthday?
Oh, thank you for asking. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to so we'll put a pin in that because I want to go back to when there wasn't a Peter and there had this kind of thing. Sweetie, I had the best birthday I've ever had in my entire life.
Amazing.
Like the best. I've never been this loved. He gave me presents were all over the house with little cards that were connected to it, and they were meaningful. Like for the Costa Rica retreat, I only have this really big fluffy night house coat. So he got me a silk kimono that I can wear when I'm there. And he got me just thoughtful things. Like my mom's been gone for all these years, but I see her in butterflies. So he got me a crystal hanging butterfly. And his dad's been gone for over 5 years and shows up as dragonflies. So he got a crystal dragonfly so that our parents who never got to meet us as a couple are
Mhm.
with us, like really thoughtful gifts. And then he made the best dinner ever, my favorite dinner ever. We had the best sex ever, like for hours in the
Ooh,
middle of the day. It was like the best fucking birthday ever.
that sounds
So,
it.
yeah, I'm grateful. 54,
Amazing. Woo! Love
good for
it.
81, right? No, I'm 50.
Yes.
Ah, ah. So as you go back from when we very first met, and maybe go back to your birthday, I don't remember when we first exactly started,
Yeah.
but how did you find me? Why me? And what was life like before you began this intimacy work?
Yeah. So, yeah, let's see. So before I found you, and I think it's been over 3 years now that we've been working together.
I think so, yeah.
Um, yeah, I was very, I mean, in hindsight, what I was desperately dating. I
Yeah.
was on off and on because it would get exhausting, but off and
Yeah.
on every dating platform out there because I knew that that's what I wanted for my life. I wanted a partner. I wanted to be in love. I wanted someone to be in love with me. I
Yeah.
wanted that for my life.
Yeah.
And, at that point, right before I started working with you, I would have been in my early 40s and, it's just still hadn't happened.
Yeah.
And I had dated and had relationships, but they obviously just they would end for whatever reason. And I was really, really sad that
Mm.
I was in my 40s and didn't have a partner, and all of my friends were married and had kids, and everyone around me seemed to be able to do it. And I was feeling very sorry for myself too. Like, what's wrong? There's something wrong with me
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I can't make this happen, yeah, like something's lacking in me. And also I would be very self-conscious about it, going to weddings without a plus one or at the holidays or family reunion. And, inevitably someone's like, well, why aren't you in a relationship? And I'm
Yeah.
like, great question. Like, I don't know. Like, this isn't a choice that I'm making,
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, so I was in that space trying to date. And now in hindsight, it's like, oh, well, of course it didn't work because I was just trying to control. That's why I call it like desperately dating, because
Yeah.
I was like, I want this so, 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 so bad.
Yes. But
And
you were
I
pushing it
was,
away.
yeah, and I'm clawing for it and
Yeah.
ignoring red flags and ignoring, letting people treat me not very well and be like, well, that's okay, because at least I have someone in my life.
Mm, mm, mm.
Um, so that's the space I was in. And I found you on another coach's, I think it was a podcast episode. And I
Okay.
don't even remember how I found her. It was just, I was in this whole world of,
Yeah. Yeah.
dating coaches, really.
Uh-huh.
And listened to one of her, I was just sort of putzing around my apartment, listening to her podcast, and you were a guest on her podcast. And I remember just kind of like stopping what I was doing when you came on, because I just like immediately liked you and your energy and your vibe, and you're like cursing and like, and I was like, okay, I like this person. And at the end of it, you do like this the spiel, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
go to my website, you could get like a free consultation kind of thing. And I was like, I'm gonna do it. And I
Mm,
was really nervous though, because I had done something similar with a different, I don't even know if I've shared this with you before, with a
mm,
different coach.
mm.
And it wasn't a call with her, it was like someone on her staff, and it was
Yeah.
really high sales pressure,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
was not good.
Got
Um,
it.
and I hated it. And I was like, ugh, I just felt really icky at the
Yeah.
end of it. I was like, I do
Yeah.
not want to work with this person.
Yeah.
And so I was nervous, honestly. I was like, oh God, what if it's going to be like that again? And I was like,
Yeah.
no, let's just, give it a whirl. And because I
Yeah.
just had really good vibes. And then I was just all over your website and, looking you up and, watching podcasts and all that good stuff.
Mhm.
And then when we chatted, we had our consultation. I mean, I just fell in love. Like, honestly, I was just like, the
Mm.
vibe, when you vibe with someone, you vibe,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I was like, yep. And it was so much more than just dating. And I
Yes.
think that's what felt different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. It wasn't just about what can we do so that you can be in a relationship. It was, what can we do so that you love yourself?
Right.
The intimacy coaching with yourself. And then that ripples out to not just dating, it's work and friendships. And, I'm not a parent, but if I were, like, kids, all those things. And I think that's what felt different, right? Like, it wasn't just like, we're going to get you on a date. We're going to get you on 100 dates, like,
Yeah.
because I was doing that on my own and it wasn't
Yeah,
working very well.
exactly.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
God. When I think about, I can see the background of your old place because
Mm,
now you've moved in with your beloved.
yeah.
And I remember the sense of, I didn't want you not wanting to go inside with that relationship with yourself. Like you were just starting to learn how to feel. There
Mhm.
were still wounds around, parents
Yep.
or around your own worthiness or even the joy of your body or the
Mhm.
joy of, I think you were still in a different job back then, right?
Yeah.
You're still working for a company back then. Now
Yep.
you're an entrepreneur. Like you've done so many shifts in terms of honoring you,
Mhm.
falling in love with you, your purpose, what lights you up, what
Yep.
delights you to be a woman, all these things.
Mhm.
So take us through what happened next, because I remember the ones that you were dating kind of all fell away, and it gave us the space to fall in love with you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's exactly right. I mean, I remember, joining like the first couple of group coaching calls and being so nervous. Like I cannot stress how nervous I
Were
was.
you
I
just like the
was.
rock star of rock stars? Wow.
Well,
Okay.
I think I put on a good game face,
Okay.
I was because I was like, wait, I'm going to talk about stuff in front of people that I don't know.
Okay.
Like,
This is a good.
it
Let's go
wasn't
deep
just
here
me and
because
you, and
you
it
know what
was
just happened
like,
like 20 minutes ago, right? On our
yeah,
call,
exactly.
like the
Exactly.
epic, deep transformation, energetic, like
Mhm.
integration, safety beyond measure. It's like a soup of love.
Yeah.
And I just take it for granted. I forget how freaking scary it is for people. So
Mhm.
yeah, tell me again in the beginning how terrified you were.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's such power. I see now, obviously, the power in these group calls, but going
Yeah.
into it, yeah, it was super duper 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 nervous. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know who these people are. I'm just
Right.
coming into this group, like, hello, like brand new. I don't know what to expect. What are we gonna talk about? Am I gonna have to talk on the first call? Like all these things, right? And it was like the part of my personality that wants to control, right? I want to know what's gonna happen, and I didn't know any of that.
Mm.
But I did it, and of course, everyone was wonderful, and I mean, it was a phenomenal experience. And I think second or third call, I was crying and sharing everything, and
Mhm.
and the community is so wonderful because we'll send each other little messages in the chat like, oh, that was amazing what you just shared, or even
Mm.
just like your hair looks good today, like just this like community of like
Yeah.
cheerleaders and it's genuine. It's not just people sort of, blowing smoke up your butt. um, and then I just started to understand more the power, like what we were just talking about, the power of like a group call. Cause you might think, and I know that, you do one-on-ones, and certainly there's a different kind of power in that as well. But, you might initially be like, oh, well, I just want a one-on-one because I'm shy, or I don't want to, I don't want to share things with people I don't know. But there is such a power in it. And I've said it so many times on our group calls where I'm left with this like amazing realization of how much more alike we are than we are different, even though
Yeah.
we are so different in so many ways. But when we're on these calls together, we're nodding our heads the whole time. Things are resonating. I'm crying when someone else is crying. The thing didn't even happen to me, but I'm still feeling whatever emotion is there. There's just such a sharing of just like our common humanity and just what
Mm.
we go through as humans that is so powerful
Mhm.
and such a lovely reminder of how alike we really are, and that we can support each other through all sorts of different things. We don't have to be going through the same experiences to get support from someone else.
Yeah. Yeah. The core nugget issue applied in all these different situations, it's the same, right? So you
Yep,
can
100%.
be coached, but then all the other people on the call, what I coach them in, it applies to you as well.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
and the synchronicities are uncanny.
Oh, they're unbelievable.
Right?
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
magic. Like we were
Yeah.
all meant to be together. We are like a
Mhm.
tribe, a soul
Yep.
tribe. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I remember back when you were dating, we'll call them duds
Yeah.
for a while. And then you met Peter and it was different.
hmm
And it wasn't just like love at first sight, let's get married, and that's the end of the day. Like it
Yeah.
had its bumps and
Yep.
uncertainties. So tell them about what was different, why
Yeah.
you think it worked, and then a bit of the journey of, the Airbnb world or
Mm.
leaving your corporate job, like how it all started to unfold.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh gosh, there's like so much. This is like really cool to reflect on. I'm like, wow, I've done a lot in
Yes, you
like
have. You got
4 years,
a woman.
basically.
There's a
Yeah.
reason why I asked you on the podcast.
I
You're an
love it. I
inspiration.
love it. It's easy to lose sight of that. So this is really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, so I definitely, yes, dating lots of duds. I like to share the story about one guy. It was like right before everything shut down for the pandemic. And so we were just texting a lot. And I was like, oh, let's have like a FaceTime date. Because it was that sort of like, let's get creative with dates. And he was like, okay. And essentially, long story short, he stood me up. He never called when we were supposed to have this date. And I came to find out it was because he was out playing Pokemon Go with like neighborhood kids. And I was like,
Okay.
oh, okay. I got stood up for Pokemon Go. That's cool. That's a first. And in hindsight, hilarious. In the moment, I was, very
Yeah.
hurt and
Pissed.
upset. So
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
yeah, so that guy, shuffled on out of the picture. Yeah, when I met Peter, it did feel different. And most of that was because I was different.
Thank you.
Because I wasn't in that desperate dating space. I
Yep. Yep.
was dating to have fun and
Mm.
see what happens, and
Yeah.
if
Be
I met
you.
the man of my dreams, great. If not, then, meet some interesting people, have some fun stories to
Yeah.
tell.
Yeah.
And coming from a space of like, this is what I want, this is what I don't want. I'm
Mm.
not going to, do like let a guy treat me this way, all the things that I had been doing, not as a way to like be like, don't do that stuff anymore, but just like from a space of like true growth
Yeah.
of
And self-worth.
loving myself,
Yeah. Yeah.
and just dating from coming at it from such a different space.
Mm.
And so I did meet Peter online. I was on one of the dating apps, and we matched, and there was something about his picture. I was like, oh, I immediately was just like, oh, like he's just like, I think he's just really sweet,
Yeah.
And so we were messaging, and the messages, I mean, even that felt different because they were actual conversations a lot of
Mm.
times on the dating apps. Hey, what's up? What are you doing today? Just very like two sentences. You're like,
Yeah.
what is the
Where's
point
the
of
depth?
this?
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm.
exactly. No depth whatsoever. These are like actual real conversations. And then he suggested we talk on the phone. And that's when I was like, what? Like, it sounds like such an ordinary thing, but literally in the years that I was dating, not one man ever suggested that. It went straight from messaging to let's meet in person, or it just fizzled out. And he said, let's talk on the phone. And I was like, what? And at first I was kind of nervous. I was like, oh my God. And then I was like, I like this.
Mm.
And we talked for like 2 hours and had
Mm.
like an amazing conversation. And in that, like after that, I was like, yep, I'm in. I am super interested. I was super excited. And things just happened very, just like it felt very natural.
Yeah.
And I kind of sat back and let him take the lead. And, he would keep asking me out. But then there was a good dance of like, then sometimes I would plan a date, and then other times he would plan a date. And it was this nice, just like ebb and flow.
Mm.
And it kind of just like, it just kept going,
Wow.
basically, and here we are 3+ years later.
Totally. Was he your type?
Mm. In some ways, no. And, he's divorced. That's fine. He has 3 kids. That's also okay. But was not like, I don't have kids. I had never really planned on it.
Right.
And I certainly didn't see that sort of being when I thought about meeting someone and being in a relationship. Kids were just not on my radar at all.
Right.
And so in that way, no, he wasn't, on paper, perhaps wouldn't have been like as keen on
Mm,
that.
mm,
It's a tricky dynamic, right, to enter into with, when there's kids and an ex and all of that.
sure.
But he's just so awesome and we're so awesome together that
Mm,
I was just like, well, I mean, it doesn't look like how I would have planned it, but I didn't
yeah.
plan it. So let's just go
Yeah.
with it.
How has the work, like there's different ways, we have different processes and different ways we look at things, but we have like a relationship, like become the one. So we have
Yeah.
this relationship with ourself first, become the one first, which then allowed you to find the one. Now you're in the realm of awakening the one. But
Mm-hmm.
this idea of I don't need to control him, even though I like to control things, and I want to control how this is going to go and how
Yeah.
we're going to progress and move in. And I need to, if not by a certain period of time, like how did you soften your external need for control as you rested into I'm going to call it more of a knowing and a
Mm.
sense rather than needing to always figure shit out and it has to look a certain way. And how did that not sabotage things as you moved into that next phase where you wanted to move in?
Yeah.
But you said, you know what? I'm just going to go do this Airbnb thing for a while. Again, I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
double down on me and
Yep.
become even more solid in me. Tell us about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a practice. I think something that I grapple with in all of this work, work on oneself and how sort of whatever label you want to give it, is that it's not a destination. It's not like, oh, I figured it out, and then you don't ever have to like think about it again and you just
Right.
live like this perfect life.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
No,
a
that's,
practice, right? Like
yes. That's,
everything is a practice. So I
mhm.
practiced a lot
Yes.
of wanting to control and then
Yes.
being like, seeing that I was doing that, right?
Right.
Because I had nurtured this self-awareness, this relationship with myself that I could see when I was doing those things
Mm.
and say, hop, up, up. Okay, let's let's look at that for a second. We talk a lot in our group coaching calls about feeling your feelings and not just
Yeah.
ignoring them or stuffing them down or whatever
Yeah.
it is. And so, letting those things arise and notice them and not just like then shove them into a closet, but to really just feel, okay, what is this need to control telling me? What's maybe an underlying emotion, or have I been triggered in some way that would be helpful for me to just like spend some time with? And then the other side of that, coming out of the other side of that, is this ability to then soften and say, okay, I'm not in charge. He's also an individual with
Yeah.
his own stuff, right? This isn't just,
Yeah.
I'm not just in a relationship with myself, this is a whole nother person who is not always going to do what I want to do, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, coming at it from that perspective of I'm not in charge. This is a partnership.
Mm.
Let's have conversations,
Yes.
and even if they're kind of hard.
Yes.
And
Especially.
that, yeah, and that is still a challenge for me. I mean, I think it is for most people, right? You have hard
Mm.
conversations with people you care about.
Mhm.
You're worried that, that person maybe isn't going to talk to you anymore, whatever the worst case scenario is that you think, because you care about that person, right? So there's
Sure.
real consequences, it feels like.
Yes.
But
Yes.
those are the people that you need to be having those conversations with, right?
Yes.
So you can both
Yes.
be growing and learning. So I think I did a good job of practicing that. And then
Uh-huh.
also kind of coming into like my feminine energy of let's have this conversation, but not in a like, we need to talk, the cliche
Right.
of like,
No shame.
uh-oh, when your woman says we need to talk, you're in trouble,
No,
like
you started to learn more to be the invitation, to be more inviting,
exactly.
to make it a safe space for him, to
Yep,
give him spaciousness, to let him know what would make you happy, and to not put
exactly.
all this control and pressure on him. And that was big.
Yeah,
How did he,
huge.
what has he, I haven't really asked you this, how has he responded to the way you are as opposed to his prior relationship or been
Mm,
grateful for the way that you speak with him?
yeah. Yeah, I think, in his these sort of previous experiences, I think it has been sort of like a little bit more of like the control and sort of, this is how this plays out. I want it to be a certain way. And, so it is. And so I think, honestly, initially, there's some fear and trepidation on his part. When I was thinking about us moving in together, I broached the conversation and
Mhm.
he was like, I
Whoa.
don't know that I want to do that. And I'm scared and it was all this stuff. And again, right, like not the reaction I wanted. I
Right.
wanted yes, oh my God, of course. Like, let's move in tomorrow. And
Yeah. How
that's
did you
not what
handle that?
happened.
How did you handle that?
I mean, I cried. I
You were
did
human.
cry.
What? You were human? Good
Exactly.
job.
I had human feelings and emotions. But it also was again, I practiced not just shutting down because I
Good.
was annoyed that
Right.
it didn't go the way I wanted it to go, but
Right.
rather ask him more questions. Well, let's talk a little bit more about like where's this, what's this fear? Let's talk that out.
Yes. Yes.
And also saying, okay, let's also put a pin in this and come back to it. Let's both take time to process and think and feel, and
Mm.
let's revisit,
Nice.
and that's what we
Nice.
did,
Wow. So you didn't have to go, make a choice or I'm out. It was no
exactly.
ultimatums or any of that bullshit.
Right,
Right.
exactly. Which I think for sure I would have done in the past, or probably likelier, just said okay, and then never brought it up again.
Right. Just
You
settled into
know?
victim. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that about the time when your next, I'll call it level of awakening of Deidre showed up with you leaving
Mm,
corporate, doing some traveling with Airbnb? Because
yeah.
to me, I sort of see your relationship like a DNA spiral. Like you kept getting higher and higher. But in order to get higher, you had to go around the dark side of the moon a
Mm,
few times
yeah.
and let go of control and go, okay, wait a
Yeah.
minute. What really matters? If I'm my best self, if I'm whole,
Yeah.
I will attract and awaken somebody who's whole. And if I make them the source of my safety and worth,
Mm,
then I need to control them or settle. So
yeah.
share with us how, even though you didn't get what you wanted initially, and you
Yeah.
put a pin in it, then what happened?
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. There has been this sort of like one thing sort of like transformed, like one area of life transformed and another area of life transformed. Yeah, I had never really been happy in any of my sort of like corporate jobs, and I kept just like bouncing around jobs. And then one day it dawned on me like, and I think with all of this just learning more about myself and what is
Yes.
important and what makes me happy, I
Yes.
was like, oh, I think it's the environment. I think it's like the environment of the 9 to 5 that is not, it doesn't suit me, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't suit everyone. We're not all meant to be on that same path.
Right.
And so that's when I decided to go out on my own. I'd always been doing communications work, and I was like, I'm gonna just quit my job and like kind of hope for the
Fucking brave woman.
best.
So brave.
Yeah. Well, it was like this like crisis point. That might be a little dramatic, but where my sort of mental and emotional health at like a corporate job was at such risk that the
Yes.
risk of just quitting my job seemed like nothing in comparison.
Wow. Well,
Like it was to that sort of like level, which I think it needed to be, because I don't know that I would have done it
sure.
otherwise. I would
Sure.
have just talked myself out of it probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that led to I had always had this fantasy of just like Airbnb hopping around the country, maybe one day the world, we'll see. I still love to do that. Because
Uh,
I could work from anywhere, working for
totally.
myself. I just need my laptop and
You're good to
some
go.
Wi-Fi and I'm good to go. So in those conversations with Peter, where we put a pin in living together, my lease was up in my apartment, and I was like, well, okay, if we're not moving in together, maybe this is the right time to Airbnb hop for a little while. And so that was an interesting conversation, right? I was like, because it wasn't coming from a place of you don't want to move in with me, so I'm doing this in like retaliation. It was a
Sure, sure.
genuine, this is something I've always wanted to do, and it feels like things are aligning for me to do it.
Yeah. I'm trying
So
to
I
think of
did.
back then what it was like to be Peter looking at you that,
Mm,
okay, so she's honoring that I'm scared and she's not making me wrong or making or forcing me to make a decision.
yeah.
I'm watching her blossom before my very eyes into a more confident woman, creating the professional life she wants, and also traveling. And you didn't break up. You didn't
Hmm.
make him wrong. You didn't go off and start to date all these other people, but you just kept
Yeah.
evolving right in front of him into a juicier and more delicious and more amazing woman. You're like, that'd be me. Love you, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
how after the Airbnb world? So, first, what did the Airbnb life provide for you? And how did
Mm.
that help the courage to say, hey, let's bring up that conversation again?
Yeah. That was so much fun. I would do that again in a heartbeat.
Your
It
fashion,
was
can I just
just,
say, is always awesome. Like I'm always looking forward to like what is Deidre's fashion going to be like on the call. But your
yeah.
fashion went out of control, like to this whole
Yeah.
other level when you were traveling around. Did I
You're
ever tell you that?
right. You did
You
not
were
tell me that, but that is true. I let my natural hair like do its
you were
thing.
so
Yeah.
expressed. Yeah,
Yeah.
it looked good on you. Just so
Yeah.
you know, you always look good. But like it was like, wow, here she is, not letting
Yeah.
anything, any conversation, any situation get in the way of her full self-expression. It was glorious. And you're such an uplifting possible energy to our group as
Mm.
well. Like, wow, she can do that. I can do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep going, please.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, and honestly, I think part of that too was like I just felt like I was on like in vacation mode for like 3 months straight. Like I was still working and like doing day-to-day stuff, but like I was in a different place. At one point I was down in North Carolina near the beach. So I mean, I was in full on like vacation mode.
It looked good
And
on
where
you.
I could just be like, okay, when I finish this work, I'm gonna go to the beach for the rest of the day. And
Uh-huh.
it was just like,
Uh-huh.
oh my God, like living
Uh-huh.
my best life.
Yeah, yeah.
Meeting interesting people and staying in
Right.
cute places, and so it was just fun. It was just a
Yeah.
really fun experience, and I think also a good opportunity to spend time just with myself,
Yes. Well said.
and continue that relationship, with myself of learning and growing.
Mhm.
But the other thing, um I missed Peter a lot when I
Oh,
was doing it. And both can be true, right? Like I had an amazing time
sure.
and
Yes.
I missed being here with Peter and
Yes.
seeing him most days.
Right.
And so when this was starting, well, I thought it would keep going. But I realized after a couple of months, I was like, I want to go back. I was
I
like, I want
miss
to go back
you.
home.
Yeah.
And that was something I had to sit with because part of me, my ego, went, well, if you do that, you're failing. You said you were going to do this for this long. And if you don't do it for this long, then you didn't do it right, like,
Mm,
and I sat with that and I was like, but this is how I feel. Like, I miss
my
him and I
truth.
want to be back,
Mm,
you
mm.
know? And I said that to him, because I was dragging my feet on finding the next Airbnb place. And
Right.
I was
So
like,
you,
what's going on here? Because the other
right.
times I was so excited. I couldn't wait. I was like
Yeah,
researching
yeah.
and I was just feet dragging. And I was like, something's going on here.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I just was really honest with him. And he was like, okay, well, literally the conversation was like, okay, well, when this Airbnb is up, come back, we'll get your stuff out of storage, move in. And I was like, what?
Okay,
Wait, what?
this is so fucking beautiful because you were not attached. You
Hmm.
were vulnerable. You were
Yeah.
listening to your feelings. You were connecting with yourself and you expressed yourself.
Yeah.
And it was like butter,
Yeah.
just butter. What?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was. It was. It was like, I was like, what? I literally was like, wait, what? Oh, okay. And he was like, yeah, I don't know what I've been doing. Like, you're amazing. Like, I'm being absurd, basically. Like, get back here.
He's just being human. And
Exactly.
you didn't make him
Exactly.
wrong for that.
Yeah.
What a gift, honey. What a
Yeah.
gift.
Yeah. It was pretty amazing.
So now, how long have you guys been living together?
It was a year in September.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so a little over a year.
Yeah.
How has the intimacy training, the
Mm.
group, our private calls, how have all of that supported moving in together? Because had you
Mm.
lived with a gentleman before? No.
No.
Okay,
So
yeah.
this
So
was big.
yeah,
Yeah. No, this was big. This was
and
my
three
first
kids half the
time.
time.
Yes, exactly. And three kids half the time.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
and an
No,
ex.
first time living with a partner. I mean, it was like, a lot of firsts for sure. I mean, the coaching and the calls, just it's these opportunities to keep practicing, right? I keep saying that, but it's to keep practicing
Mm-hmm.
all of the things, the skills and the processes and the relationships and the growth. And again, the common human experiences, right? Where someone's talking about something completely different. And I'm like, oh man, that totally resonates with, I had this, tough conversation with Peter the other day. It didn't go the way I wanted it to. But now, because of what so-and-so said, okay, I think I know I want to approach this,
Wow. Yeah.
And that's just been invaluable because again, the moving in together, I could look at and probably would have in the past as like, okay, goal achieved, and then just like sit back, right? And
Right.
that's the end of
Right.
it. But there's still work, like more work that,
Mm.
needs to take place because that is such a big life transition for
Mm.
everyone involved.
Yeah.
So I'm navigating my feelings and his kids' feelings and probably his ex's feelings and like, all of us trying to do this together. Like I
Yeah.
can't do that by myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I need the support of you and our community
Mm.
and it's not like therapy where you just like talk and then
Right.
someone's just like, oh, okay. It's
Right.
like, okay, stop. What did you like what you just said? Let's go deep on that. And
Yeah.
I'll experience things I didn't even know I was feeling. I'll just
Mm.
start crying and I'm like, I didn't even know that I needed to cry, but I did need to cry.
Yeah.
Because
Like,
it's a time to do that. It's like this like
yeah.
dedicated time to grow and learn. And it's easy to like just not do that on
It's
your
easy to
own. I
bypass
mean,
and stay in our head.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Even
yeah.
literally like an hour before this pre-record, um, tell them what, just even today, what you discovered, because you're moving into this next phase of your creative expression in your business on the planet. But when we move in, at least for me, when I move into something new, even though I've been doing this for 20 years, I'll still be like for example, the docu-series, like, okay, what's the show going to be? And I'm trying to figure it out and I'm grasping for it. It's got to
Mhm.
succeed. And I don't want it to fail like the app. And then there's some shame. And then there's some fair. I'm no different than you.
Yeah.
I'm doing exactly the same thing as I evolve to the next level. So even today, what would you say the value was of our call with how you're unfolding into this new expression of your business in the world?
Yeah. Before I'll dive into that, but you triggered a thought for me about sharing sort of like what your experiences are, and
Thank you.
talking about the community. You are part of that community, obviously, and you share just as much
Mm,
and are just as vulnerable as the
mm,
rest of us are. And, because it can be really easy in like a coach client relationship for a client to be like, oh, the coach again, right? They figured it all out. They've reached the goal and now they're an expert and that's why they're teaching me. And
yeah.
that's not what's going on, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, you're human. You're
Yeah.
going through challenging experiences just like the rest of us are and wonderful experiences and figuring out how to react to all of that and not
Mm,
always doing everything great,
mm,
like
mm,
everyone on this planet is going through. And
yeah.
so that actually serves us better because it is a reminder that we are all human,
Yeah.
that it's not a goal to be achieved. It's
Mm,
again the practice, the
mm,
work, right? And
mm,
so it's so supportive and helpful for when you are always vulnerable and
mm,
honest with us and we can see the work like real time, right? Like
yeah.
you'll get on a call with us and something's happened and you'll take yourself through a process and we're like, oh wow, okay,
Like
like
right in the
see how
moment on
that
the call.
goes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'll lose my
yeah,
shit with everybody. Yeah.
exactly. And like that's amazing and wonderful and
Mm,
part of I think the your secret sauce for sure.
mm. Thank
Yeah,
you, baby. Thank you for that.
yeah,
And we'll get back to a second because I have another question based on that.
yes.
Um, I really appreciate you bringing that up because I do walk this fine line. Like if I'm going to be about intimacy and vulnerability and transparency and talk about it from my brain as opposed to be it in my body in real time. And it's terrifying because you've purchased a coaching program to get results. Like we have a business arrangement. And here I am going, I'm a fucking hot mess. And this didn't go well. And you've watched me now for 3 years. And I've never even asked you this, but did you ever doubt my capacity to have your back? Did you ever
Mm.
think, oh, she's a little hot, a little hotter of a mess than usual today? Or like what was it like to like, did I ever make you uncomfortable?
Mm,
And then what has it been like over 3 years to watch the work to
mm,
now when I'm living with my beloved?
mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. And you can tell me totally the truth and I'll love you just as much. So don't worry,
Yeah.
like, don't hold back.
No, I don't think I've ever doubted your
Mm,
capacity
wow.
to
Thank
to
you.
do what it is that you do. Like it is very obvious very quickly that you have a talent and an innate skill. Like this is
Mm,
what you're supposed to be doing.
yeah.
I think that that is no one who works with you, I think would say anything different.
Mm.
And again, I think, like right, today she's a hotter of a mess. Like, but like, so was I 2 days ago. You know what I mean? Again, it's
Right.
just that like it's helpful to see that.
Mm,
And to your point about, having worked together for a couple of years and like see your evolution, see, the journey you've been on.
mm,
Um, it's just like when I reflect on my journey. I mean, we've been, through some similar stuff relationship wise. You're living with your beloved, I'm living with mine, and it was not an easy road to get there,
uh-huh.
and I just think that again, that's just what makes this special and I think
Yeah.
makes it work. Because
Yeah.
like you said, it would be really inauthentic if
Yeah.
you were just like this,
Almost
like
perfect.
perfectly put together, boop, 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 everything's great. That I think that would make me be like, is she a robot? Or like,
Uh,
what does she
right.
know about like, authentic, intimate experiences when she's just like,
Yeah.
going through the
Faking it.
motions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm I'm sharing a lot about how I call it ascending,
Mm,
and not to get too woo-woo on everyone, but the idea of going from a third dimensional world where it's about I'm right, you're wrong. Someone's always got to win, someone's got to
yeah.
lose. It's all fear-based control to this higher vibration, 5D and beyond, where we're not going into that I'm selfish or selfless, I'm a victim or a bitch. Like, no, self first is this become the one.
Mm,
The one I'm finding is me. The one I'm awakening is me. And when that occurs on the inside, that occurs on the outside, romantically, but also professionally.
mm-hmm.
And that's why the docu-series, I think, has waited this long to arise, is I needed to be in this place,
Yeah.
inside of myself. And I think before, just like you're dating before, as you were grasping, like I was trying so hard to serve humanity, and COVID hit and I wanted to help people and I wanted to create a new way of dating. Like, but there was a need or a want or a lack that I was trying to make better. I was coming
Yeah.
from something was wrong that I needed to fix, as opposed to I'm completely different now.
Mm-hmm.
And this next iteration of my business, in addition to keeping the coaching going, is to have the docu-series be this new way of me being. And I had to let the old way die.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to forgive myself. And I had to ask for more help. And I had to, like, it's almost like do less to have more, like to let it
Mm-hmm.
come through me and trust and surrender in the relationship with the divine using me for all rather than me being in charge and trying to make it
Mm-hmm.
happen. It's been a huge evolution. So kind of circling back to today's call with your evolution in your business and what's turning you on and how you're being different. Yeah, what's happening for you
Yeah.
professionally? And then we'll dovetail back to personally. But yeah,
Yeah.
with the web
Yeah. I mean,
design and
I
this
think,
kind of thing.
yeah, like you said, all of that, the growth in one area impacts the growth in another area.
Yeah.
And when it comes to my business, I've just been doing similarly to when I was dating, really thinking about, okay, what do I want? What
Yeah.
does Deidre want?
Yeah.
What would make me happy?
Yeah.
And so, I've been so fortunate with my business where I have been able to sort of tap into my existing network. I've worked with a lot of, previous coworkers and colleagues and things like that. And it's been wonderful. But that's a finite resource, right? And so there comes this time where you're like, oh God, I should be marketing and doing all of these things. And so again, I've been going through this practice of like, oh no, I fell short. I should have been doing this. I should have been doing that. And then saying, okay, well, this is a learning growth opportunity. What is this telling me? Let's take this time to really think about, what's next. And so basically where I've landed is I had worked on a couple, website templates, not like hardcore coding or anything like that, but more the design part of it. And I was like, when I was working on that, it's like hours would go by. I wouldn't get up to go to the bathroom or get a drink of water. And I was like, oh, like I'm into this. Like it was like this
Yeah.
like realization of
Delights
like,
me.
oh, I really like doing this. I want to
Yeah.
do more of this.
Yeah. And I'm good at it.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and like
Yeah.
and double down on it and not just say like I have enough skills now, right, that I could do it. And I have done it. But to also really say, but like let's get better at it. What if
Yeah.
I can get to a point where this is all that I do is just
Mm,
website design?
mm,
And so doubling down on that and finding ways to sort of work on still, keep my consulting business going and finding a course or certificate or class or something like that and just doubling down on the website design and just
mm,
getting some of those skills that I'm pretty much self-taught, right? So getting some of those fundamental skills down and just seeing where that could take me. And it's
mm,
like, okay, maybe a year from now something else pops up, right? But like I had fun doing the website design and taking the class and learning new skills, and who
mm,
knows what that might turn
mm,
into.
mm.
But is it fun
Right.
and is it something I want to do? Yeah.
It's such a different way of making a decision, Deidre, to like what delights me, what gives me life, what would be fun, what would make an
Hmm.
impact, what would bring abundance. Like
Yeah.
it's a whole way of living
Yeah.
differently from
Yeah.
wholeness and overflow rather than from lack. And I got to go get a man or get a job or something in order to
Right.
finally get that sense of relief. But then
Yeah.
you're still in the hamster wheel. Like
Right.
you're off the hamster wheel. You're in this
Yeah.
wholeness of creation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we could clearly everybody we could talk for hours about
I
our
know.
maybe
I know. I was
our
just
lives.
thinking that. Like, this is
Yeah, but
so fun.
I know it's awesome, but I want to like complete with where you are in your relationship right now. And
Yeah.
probably Peter will see this, so we're not gonna say everything. But anyways,
Yeah.
um, what would delight you in your relationship with Peter?
Yeah. So it's the timing of this is good too, because it's like New Year, it's like perfect sort of time to be thinking about that. I'm so happy with us living together. People ask us how it's going, and I'm like, we still like each other. Like we see each other every day. We still like each other. So I feel like
Yeah,
that's good, right?
yeah, yeah,
So I think about, what that next level is for me and what I've, again, going back to when I was just dating and I would kind of ignore what I actually wanted.
yeah,
And now I'm like, no, I know what I want. And I know that I've always wanted sort of that next level of communion and or partnership,
yeah.
marriage, whatever that sort of label is that one wants to put on it. I've always wanted that and I don't want to pretend that I don't, right? So
Yeah.
that's what I think about when I think about our next level. I think about what are what do those conversations look
Mm,
and feel like for us to
mm,
have together to talk that through because he's got his own stuff from previous, we all do, right? I've got my
sure,
stuff from previous relationships, so does he.
sure.
So it's a conversation, right? And again,
Mm,
it's not that, well, this is what I want and why aren't you doing it? It's
mm,
not
mm.
gonna be like that. So we're like, let's have this conversation. Like, what do you think about when you think about the sort of future of our relationship? And
Right.
yeah, so it's exciting. It's like, I mean, it's nerve-wracking, I'm not gonna lie. Like having those conversations, again, it's never, I don't think, like easy,
Sure.
but it's, like anything, right? You get better at it the more you do
Yeah.
it. And
Look at you.
yeah,
You're so
so
sexy right now. Like, yeah.
right, because I'm thinking about like, okay, yeah, like maybe I'll wear this sweater, right? And like do a little
Yeah. With your
shoulder
sexy
roll.
tattoo there. Uh-huh. I'm saying yes.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
we're-
exactly.
Remember how we were on a prior call talking about like when we invite and allure
Yeah.
someone into something more delicious as opposed to have a conversation with an attachment to the outcome. And once we get, I mean, who wants to have a conversation with somebody that comes at them with that energy?
Yeah.
But when your heart is open and your sacred yoni is open and your feminine
Mhm.
blossoming flower is, alluring him into
Yeah.
a deeper level of, as I love that communion
Yeah.
and partnership and giving it new names.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, the words like marriage has like such a trauma literally
Yeah.
associated
Yeah.
with it for people that have been through like shitty divorces. And so we
Totally.
can create a whole new world together. I
Hmm.
love that you have the skills within
Yeah.
yourself to stay open. We call them dyads, where we
Mhm.
ask questions back and forth, and the other person doesn't have to say anything other than thank you. So, it's safe to say anything. No one's going to interrupt you, judge you, or make an excuse. You just get to go so deep. So I'm so glad we've had these skills that can ripple
Yeah.
into your relationship. God, that makes me
Yeah.
happy.
For sure. Yeah.
So I know I have a little bit of attachment that this all ends with you.
Yeah.
Allana, could you get your officiate? What is it called? Like when you could marry people? Like
Yes, baby officiate. Oh my God.
I've never done that ever. I'd love to. I'm just saying.
Okay. It's happening.
Planting
It's
seeds.
happening.
Okay,
It's happening.
I would just
I
like
love that. Oh my God.
Deidre, like
I have like goosebumps.
okay, same, totally same. Like look at all the hair up on my
Oh my
Because,
God.
sweetie, like, yes, you're my client, but you're my sister. Like, I love
Mhm.
you. Like, I've watched you and you've watched me
Yep.
through, like, I'm calling this episode, like, like, never give up on love.
Yeah.
Like, where each of us have been, and a lot of people in our community,
Yeah.
we have every fucking right to give up on love. And we have a process called the theater of redemption that's not very politically correct, where, we'd want to give up on love.
Yeah.
But you didn't.
Yeah.
And while this might be sort of selfish, to be able to be there
Yeah.
and honor that portal going through to the next level and be able to literally marry you. I've
Oh,
never in my whole life had that blessing.
wow.
And I would, no pressure, no
Yeah.
pressure on you, no pressure on Peter. But like if it ever arises, that would be the greatest gift you could give me, to be able to be in that sacred place and honor and anoint
Oh,
a sacred divine relationship. Like that
oh
would
my
make me so
God.
happy.
This is amazing. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay, well, let's see. Let's
Yeah.
let's motherfucking hope it doesn't take another 3 years. But
I
anyway,
know, right? I know, I know. Well, remember, we said on a previous call, we both feel like, maybe it's 2024. We're feeling the
I'm feeling it this year.
vibe.
I really am.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No,
I'm
that would
so
be an
happy.
absolute, yeah, that would be an absolute honor and incredible. And for people who are, who end up listening and watching this, we've never met face to face. That's the other
You and
thing
I
that's so
know.
amazing. Yeah, you and I have not met face to face, which is
Never
insane.
I know. I've never hugged you. Like
And
that's crazy.
but also like amazing, right?
Right?
Like that's
Yeah.
just incredible.
Yeah.
And we still
Uh-huh.
have like this level of, intimacy with each other. Yeah.
Yeah. Intimacy and love and safety
Yeah.
and connection.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't wait. I wonder how tall you are. I don't even know.
I know, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh, well, thank you. And that's another thing to let people know as we complete. There is such a level of intimacy, even if we don't physically meet. We do once a year at a retreat, but they're generally, far away and not everybody can get to them and all the rest of it. So what would you say to somebody listening or watching who's like, wow, that really could happen to me? What would you say to them if they're almost giving up on love?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say, and I don't know, maybe this sounds corny, but if you give up on love, you're giving up on yourself. And
Mm,
that's not fair. That's not fair to you. That's not fair to the world.
mm,
We all have gifts and talents and things that make us uniquely us. And it's important that we nurture that. And part of that is love. I mean, there's no denying that that's what makes life worth living, right?
yeah.
Loving ourselves, and it's not just romantic love, loving ourselves, loving our families, even people we don't know, right?
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
of that
Yeah.
becomes easier once we, have that relationship with ourselves.
Mm.
And so, yeah, so I would say not to deny that and to like go to your website. I'm gonna do a full-on pitch. But it's true. I mean, it's coming
That's
from a
how we have
genuine
to work in this
place.
world. Yeah.
Yeah.
Book a
Is to
call.
to have that consultation call with you because like I
Yeah.
said, I was like, yep, there was just no doubt in my mind that this
Mm,
was different.
mm,
And as I've continued through the journey, that it works. I
mm.
mean, there's no two ways about it.
Oh, thank you, sweetheart. Thank you.
Yeah.
I look forward this week to welcoming 2 new clients. And within, I think it was
Yay.
18 minutes with this one guy, he had said something 3 times. And then I stopped him. I said, can I ask you a question? I go, what is it that you love about? He was complaining about something 3 times. I'm like, what do you love about that? He's like, nothing. I'm like, oh, no, you do. What do you like? And he's like,
dang, who are you? Like, what is this? You're not a therapist. How did you do
Right.
that? I've been going to therapy for like years and no one's ever called me on that. And he goes,
Yeah.
you're supposed to be on your best behavior. This is a consulting call. I'm like, no. This is who I am. This is how I
Yep.
roll.
Yep.
This is how deep we're going to go. And we're going to resolve this because you're in
Yeah.
your own way, but you don't even see it. It's a blind spot.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
so yeah, I
I love that.
enjoy loving people. That is my
Yeah.
secret sauce. And thank you
It is
for,
your secret sauce.
yeah, I always say, don't ask me to cook. My boyfriend
Right.
cooks.
Yeah,
The
we all
universe
have
knew.
what we're good at, right?
That's
And
right.
things we're not as good at.
Yeah, the universe knew that. I didn't put that in my profile. It'd really be great if you cooked. But
Yeah.
thank God he does. Thank God he
Oh,
does.
yes, that's amazing.
Oh, sweetie. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your heart with us, your journey with
Yeah.
us. And thank you that we created something out of nothing that
Yeah.
maybe we'll hug for the first time
I
at your ceremony.
know.
Like,
Yes.
oh my God.
Oh
Wow.
my God. That
That's
would
just
just be amazing. Yeah. Yeah. No, and thank you. Thank you for having me on and for having the opportunity to talk about all of this because it's such an important part of my life
Mm.
and has played such a critical role that I'm always happy to talk about it.
Oh, thank you, sweetheart. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, all of you listening and watching, if you desire someone in the realm of communications and web design who has a heart like this woman, and integrity like this woman, and joy and delight, and how that would be infused, not just getting the job done, but how you got the job done and the energy with which you present yourself in the world has the heart of this woman, please. We'll find a way in the show notes and bio to give all your information so people can follow up. And then, as she said, if you are ready for that consultation where we go deep and we talk about what really matters, I would love to meet you. So thank you for inviting them to do that. Yeah. And then lastly, this is how I tend to end all the calls, like with a big group hug. So I'm just gonna do this with you right now. Like, happy birthday, sister. I love you so much.
Yes, I love you. Thank you so much for having me on and letting me chat with you. This was so much fun.
I know, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Until next time on Intimate Conversations, all my love and thank you for letting me love the shit out of all of you. Bye, sweetheart.
Bye.
See you next week on Intimate Conversations. Get out there and make love to life. I love my office. There is our code of deliciousness for my company, my son when he was small, my Columbia University, hearts, me and hearts. And I'm sitting here about to get started for the day and just in such a great mood. We had incredible sex last night. I woke up this morning so happy, and I decided instead of going for a walk, I wanted to meditate, but then I didn't. Then I wanted to put my music on really loud with my headphones and sit with the dog, and then put my sexy underwear on and t-shirt on and dance around the living room. I was having so much fun. And then as I turned my music off and my man was in the kitchen making me breakfast, he was playing music that I just didn't like. And it just was such a buzzkill. And he was so happy though, so I didn't say anything. And I just let him be in his bliss, dancing to music that I just didn't really care for. And then we had breakfast, and I'm thinking back to this wonderful podcast with Deidre about when you move in. And there's, you got to get into the groove and cooperate and negotiate and figure shit out. And at the end of breakfast, I said, honey, I've got some bad news. He's like, what? I said, I really don't like that band. And he's like, that's okay. I don't want the clone of me. I want the compliment of me. So he goes, I don't like all your music either. So it's just good. Things that, in the past, I probably would have just put up with it because I can look on the bright side and I can always see the gift in things, and it's really not that bad, but I'm just so committed to being completely authentic, vulnerable, transparent, honest, real, kind, but truthful. So we had a little chuckle about it. Oh my God. Then I got in the hot plunge or the cold plunge after my workout, and I just and then the hot shower. And now I'm sitting here, I'm just like, God, life is good.
doing the work for authentic communication is so worth it. It's just, there's no energy we use to have to try to suppress truth. We can just be freely expressed, laugh, hug, cry, whatever we need to do. So I so respect Deidre, and I'm so happy for her and Peter, and I'm so grateful that the work works, and you got to see a wonderful example of the results that happen when people are committed to an intimate relationship with themselves, their body, the divine, and then it eventually turns into that intimate relationship with their beloved. And so I look forward to you, if you resonate with her and you're looking for somebody to do communications work or copywriting and web design and all of that. Her contact information is in the show notes. And absolutely, if you're like, okay, it's time, let's do the work. No more being stuck. No more being risk averse. No more settling. No more letting fear stop me. Connect with me. I would love to talk about what's possible when you join our community and allow me to love the shit out of you and coach you and watch you soar into the most amazing relationship, as has Deidre and as have I. All right, all my love to you. P.S. Regarding Magic Mind, I just got an email from one of you with the coupon code for it. So my team sent that to you, and it's in the show notes here. I ran out. The last few days I had it was the last PSI that I did over last weekend. And then moving into my birthday on Monday, and I still was taking it every day. And I got home and I thought there'd be another box. When I got home, no box. So I was alive with energy during the PSI weekend that I did with my VIP client, and it's now Thursday, and it's been 3 days that I haven't had it, and I totally can tell. And so I'm waiting for my next box, and I encourage you, there's discounts if you just want to try it once. There's deeper discounts if you want to do the subscription like I do. So for some reason it didn't arrive on time, and I got to figure out what happened, because I really feel just more alert, alive, no fogginess, just a sense of for the day. So give it a try if you haven't yet. And I look forward to when that box arrives in my mailbox. All right, I love you.